Senior NBA insider Shams Charania has just dropped a massive update regarding the future of the Houston Rockets, and this has everything to do with the veteran leadership that GM Rafael Stone says he wants for this team heading into next season so they could have continuity and be a playoff contender. Hello, everybody. I am Donovan Ricondo. I am your host for Rockets Digest, where we break down all the latest news, rumors, and updates regarding your H-Town team. And if you want to stay in the loop with all these off-season moves, hit that subscribe button below. We are going to be covering it all, daily videos on this platform. And we are getting to our video for today. We are talking about the Houston Rockets. As Shams has just tweeted this moments ago, the Houston Rockets and guard Fred Van Vleet are pushing back Friday's deadline date to June 29th on his $44.9 million team option for 2025-2026 season, sources tell ESPN. This gives both sides additional time to navigate exercising the option versus completing a longer-term deal. Once again, from the NBA insider himself, they have pushed back this deadline. You're probably wondering, what does that mean? Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? And as of right now, that's pretty much a neutral thing, if anything. Both sides are going to take the time they need. They don't want to rush anything. They want to take the time they need to make the decision that is best for themselves. And so there's no clear indication on where that's going to lean in terms of this report, but from all the things we've seen in the past couple of days, we kind of know that there has been some interest on Fred Van Vleet's side and from GM Rafael Stone's side in terms of bringing back Fred for next season. And now, what exactly is pushing back this date? What does that mean? One, it gives them more time. Two, this June 29th deadline is simply the league-wide deadline. So for a lot of free agents, a lot of players wondering if they're going to have their option being picked up, the June 29th deadline is pretty much the normal deadline to have in terms of when those teams have to make that decision. Now, originally, whenever they did Fred's contract, they had the date be this Friday. Of course, both sides want to, consider and take the time to make that decision, and so they are pushing that decision back. Now, and that decision, really quickly, is right before free agency and right after the NBA draft. So a lot of things to consider in terms of what the Rockets are going to do with those draft picks and what kind of deals are going to be made. It puts the Rockets in a position to make the right decisions that they want. So it's a perfect deadline for the Houston Rockets as an organization. Now, in terms of Fred Van Vleet, what does this all mean? And what does it mean from GM Rafael Stone? Danielle Lerner from the Houston Chronicle provided this update just yesterday, saying Rafael Stone declined to comment on specific contractual negotiations, but said on Fred Van Vleet, he's been the person and player that we hoped we were getting, and we're very optimistic he'll be with us for the foreseeable future. So we see Rafael Stone has interest. He wants him to pretty much come back. He was impressed by what he was able to do in the regular season, what he was able to do in the playoffs, especially the playoffs. And he has interest on that side. And I want to take you to what Fred Van Vleet said about his situation. This is right after the game, after their Game 7 loss. He said, obviously, I put my heart and soul into this, and this is where I want to be. It's definitely a family situation. I've got a lot of love for our coaching staff and Rafael Stone and the Fertitta family, and just what we set out to do when I had my free agent meeting 2 years ago, and we're on that track. It was never a short-term vision. It was a long-term goal. We're on track. We're on schedule. And again, he's completely right. Of course, a first-round exit is not what we had hoped would happen. That was a very winnable series. It was a series that should have not gone 7 games. If you ask me, the Rockets probably should have won that in at most 6. Nevertheless, things did not go our way. And from what the front office is bringing forth, and from what the players seem to understand, is it was never the plan to win a championship year 2 with the Ime Udoka reign, right? Of course, that would have been nice. That would have been amazing. But there is a process in terms of building a championship team. And 2 years ago, they said, "Hey, Fred, we think you can provide this veteran leadership. We think you can, bring your championship experience, bring that to this team in hopes of us becoming the team that you were with the Toronto Raptors in 2019." And they are on that track. In year two, became a second seed, made the playoffs, first round exit, you know, could have hoped for more, but they are on track. That's from Fred Van Vleet's standpoint, and that is from GM Rafael Stone's standpoint as well. And if you ask me, Fred Van Vleet has proven that he can be a solid player for this team. As you have seen, these are his stats for the regular season. 14.1 points per game, 3 rebounds, or 3.7. I don't want to take off that 0.7 rebounds. I want to shortchange him. 5.6 assists, 1.6 steals, very limited turnovers for the amount of minutes that he is playing per game. As you see there, he is a great corner 3 threat, which is something that, we want more of. And you see 31 years old, which will probably, be 32 come next playoff season. And that is the question. Is he too old? 32 by no means is old, but in NBA terms, is that the kind of guy you want to sign on to, and what do you possibly do with that? And that is something that of course, Rafael Stone is certainly looking at, because there's many things that they can do with this extended deadline, right? They can simply pick up his option, right? They can do that, or, and this is another thing they can possibly do, they can decline the option, but then negotiate a multi-year deal at a lesser salary. So he'd be playing for us next year, but with a shorter salary. But instead of just playing for us next year, he will also play us for the year after that, and the year after, depending on whether they give him a 2 or 3 year deal. Now, of course, if they decline his option, he will become an unrestricted free agent. And if you're Fred Van Vleet, it would be unwise to not explore other areas, see what kind of money you can get from another team if you firmly believe that you are a player that can make a difference on any playoff contending team. But again, the Houston Rockets would technically also have early bird rights to try to get that deal made and get him signed onto a multi-year deal after declining that player option. So this option is also on the table for the Houston Rockets, depending on if they want to keep it. And by all indications, it seems that they want to keep Fred Van Vleet, because in the playoffs, he proved to himself that why he is such a veteran leader and such a sound player when it comes to the playoffs. In the playoffs, 18.7 points per game. That is the Golden State Warriors series. 18.7 points per game, hitting 18 threes in games 4, 5, and 6 combined. Not each game, but combined 18 threes in the span of 3 games. And again, he's going to be 32 next year. And so be it, right? In my opinion, I think picking up this guy, a guy who's proven himself to be so high value, especially in an important time when a guy like Jalen Green could not figure it out in the playoffs, he has proven that he can step up in that situation if need be. So let me know in the comments, do you think we should pick up the player option for Fred Van Vleet? Do you think we should not? Do you think we should decline but then sign him on to a multi-year contract? Let me know in the comments what you think. This has been an episode of Rockets Digest. I'm Donovan Ricondo, and we'll see you next time.